Yeah. What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and I am live here with someone I don't think you've ever seen here on the channel before. But so, Justice, I'll let you introduce yourself for folks who don't know. So, let us know who you are and kind of what you do with WotC.
Yeah, so my name is Justice Arman. I'm the managing game designer on the game design team for D&D. So half of my job, I manage the team, and the other half of my job, I lead projects. I was lead designer on the Heroes of the Borderlands starter set and the Stranger Things Welcome to the Hellfire Club, both of which are upcoming. The Stranger Things box set releases on October 7th, and the starter set releases on September 15th. Sorry, I didn't want to mix them up.
No, so you're not new to WotC. You've been there for a while, and you've worked on a couple other projects as well. Just to give folks a little bit of your history, what other projects and kind of what have you done with WotC in the past?
Yeah, so I started out my career in games with Beetle and Grimm's as a licensee. Ted and I have, we've been around for a while, so. And I started freelancing with Radiant Citadel, moved to Spelljammer Adventures in Space, and then did Keys from the Golden Vault, and then joined Wizards as a co-lead on Planescape Adventures in the Multiverse. The year the 50th, I was leading Quest from the Infinite Staircase. So we took a lot of the lessons we learned in updating those adventures for Quest from the Infinite Staircase and kind of applied some of those same philosophies to the Keep on the Borderlands adventure and the starter set. So I know a lot of people who really enjoyed Quest from the Infinite Staircase, and so I'm excited for them to see how we kind of reimagined that adventure for use with the set.
So a lot of the stuff you've done in the past seem to be more anthology based, where it's like piecemeal adventures, all sometimes in a larger theme. But the two that you've worked on that are coming out here, Heroes on the Borderlands and the Stranger Things box sets, these are a cohesive adventure from start to finish. How does working on something like that that's all contained in one differ from working on anthology stuff?
It's very interesting too, because there's so many moving parts. We think of each of these sets as kind of self-contained ecosystems. So if a monster appears, it appears on a monster card. Unlike previous sets, we want it to be ready for the DM to use. So we actually, in the past, we would print a monster stat block at the back of the adventure, you'd flip back and forth. Now we want you to be able to have the page open, pull out the monster card, show the monster to your players, and then have the stats there. So when we're designing these sets, we have to kind of, galaxy brain it. And what's really neat about the starter set, that kind of made it almost more of a challenge from the design side is, we have this kind of intuitive class board character building system. So when we play tested this with new groups who had never played D&D before, they went from opening the set to having a character and playing their first adventure in 20 minutes, which is a vast improvement over the first time I made a character for 3rd edition.
Sure.
It took a little while. And we do that by giving you kind of the 3 kind of big steps you see in the player's handbook. You're going to choose your class, you're going to choose your species, and you're going to choose your background. And the latter 2 are cards, and the class is in the form of kind of this board where everything you need is on there. And then other cards kind of come in and you play them on your board. So if you're coming over from board games, you get this kind of like tactile experience that maybe you're more familiar with. And if you've maybe seen tabletop or you've been curious about D&D, it's a little bit of a kind of smoother onboarding. The good news is, like, the version of the rules that you're going to see, we've done some kind of quality of life, like we've almost hidden some of the things that we don't want new players to have to worry about, but nothing in there contradicts the player's handbook. So when you finish this set, if you want to take your character beyond the level range in the set, you can open your player's handbook and you can build that character just as is, and you'll actually get more choice and can move on. But you can take all of the cards that you get for spell cards, you can take your class board, you can take your species card, and you can still continue to use that. And if you wanted to, just take those things, build a character, and play a different adventure, you could do that. The same is true for Stranger Things. We wanted to channel this like nostalgia to let people play like what they see on Stranger Things. Sure. That still uses the modern edition of the game. You're not playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, but we have like the yellow kind of goldenrod inspired character sheets. And so the way you make your character for that one is you take the pre-gen and when you level up, you take the level 2 pre-gen. So if you wanted to take those and use them as pre-gens in another campaign and say you're going to play Erica Sinclair's Lady Applejack, right? You're going to play Will the Wise. You could just have those on hand and use them in your home group.
So I know you guys did obviously a lot of play testing with new groups that haven't played before, and that's kind of, these are starter sets, right? That's the point, is to onboard new players. Did you do any play testing with existing players or people who knew what they were doing? Because I'm curious what their feedback was with this new sort of board gamified version of it.
Yeah, we did. We tested it with mixed groups. We tested it across generationally. So we did some families. We did some groups of like all adults, young adults. We actually did some NDA play tests here last year at GenCon, so some returning players got to play, and some of those insights directly informed the set. So one of the suggestions that actually came out from a returning player, they said, hey, in the past, it's been kind of abstract to articulate what a cone area of effect is when I'm teaching other people to play. And so if you look at the spell cards in our set, when you see Burning Hands, on the top, we show you an image of a cone so that if you forget what it looks like or you're unfamiliar with it, you can come in. And that was actually a suggestion from a returning player because, obviously the game today, people can learn from all sorts of sources. They can read tutorials, they can watch actual plays. It's almost a harkening back to past editions where you learn by watching somebody else play. We see it in Stranger Things. Eddie runs a game and Mike runs a game, and by the time others DM, like when Will DMs, he DMs kind of like Mike did, right. And that's kind of that thing. So a lot of our best teachers are who go out and spread the game with others are established players. So we listened to them as well, and the responses that we got were very, very positive. I know the Essentials kit was kind of our starting point because we knew fans really liked it. I played through that set with my group, and I really liked that kind of stuff. And we just kind of souped up everything in that set, added more, and kind of re-expressed some things to make it a better onboarding experience.
I was going to say, has there been, because I know, like, obviously with things that was like Lost Mines of Phandelver and the original starter set was much more geared towards traditional, I call it like traditional D&D kind of one-shot onboarding stuff, where this is definitely much more, again, as you said, board gamified, and it does coincide. It's smart to do this alongside the full kind of release of 2024. You've got not a new edition, but an update, so now's the time to bring people in and onboard. So was there ever discussions about going with more traditional, or did what led, I guess, to this new approach?
Yeah, we had a few goals when we started. One of the hidden goals we had was to encourage people to take on the mantle of DM. So one of the things that you'll see when you open the quick start for this set is it says if you want to swap roles, here's how you can do that. Okay. And in part to do that, we needed to make this set something that you could do in bite-sized sessions. So, for example, when you pick up the Caves of Chaos booklet and you're going through the dungeons that we have, they're all very different. Each one comes with a full-size poster map. It has unique tokens for it, its own kind of self-contained story. But you don't have to play them in any sequential order. Okay. The story that emerges, much like the original Keep on the Borderlands, is the one that your group is going to tell. There are narrative threads throughout, but because we wanted to really prioritize positive onboarding experience, speed of play, really addressing some of those common barriers to play. Someone says, well, I want to play more D&D, but I don't have as much time. Well, 4 hours might be what somebody thinks of a standard session. When I think somebody comes over for a game night for D&D, 4 hours, yeah, right? Sure. But this is 30 minutes to 90 minutes, right? Depending on what you do. And you can continue and you can play another one and string it together and make what some would say, a longer session is. Or you can just get together for that, integrate it into a game night where you're playing other games, but really be able to get through something quickly, and feel like there's a definite start and end. So, we've thought about, a different way of doing it. If you look at the Stranger Things set, each of those adventures is kind of their own unique adventure story, and they kind of have a more traditional approach. But we did take kind of learnings from Dragon Delves and the way that, that kind of one-page summary of like, you're going to need these creatures, and here's the, like if you don't have time to read ahead, just read these few sections, you're ready to go. So But, we're interested in seeing, I really want to know what people think about it. I hope they enjoy it. At the end of the day, the thing that's true is we'll listen to the fans, and if they like certain things and they don't like other things, we're going to lean into the things they like the next time we do something like this.
So more importantly, if you didn't get that, give your feedback. Now, actually, that's a good question for folks who don't know. Let's say they get Heroes on the Borderlands, they get the physical box set. Some people are kind of going to do digital on D&D Beyond, but they find something that they either want to praise it because they love what's going on, or they maybe have some sort of creative or constructive criticism. I think I would tweak this or that. What's the best way to get that feedback to the D&D team to incorporate in whatever way they will?
Yeah, there's a few different ways. In some of our books, if you look in the front, you'll see a QR code that you can leave feedback. You can also reach out to us through support or tag us on social media, tag the Wizards page, right, and let them know what you loved about it, what you didn't like. We have a community management team who monitors our different community hubs. We have a Discord. We have our D&D Beyond forums. So there are a lot of different ways. So wherever you're at, giving feedback, we'll try to meet you where you are.
We'll be on the lookout just a couple weeks away for Heroes on the Borderlands, and then just in time for spooky time in October, we have Stranger Things. So we got that going on as well. So thank you again, and I'll have links to everything down in the description.